So, hands up if you'd like to help save the planet. Brilliant, thank you. And hands up if you'd like to save a shed load of money. Do you know, I thought you might. Well, you'll be pleased to know that you can do both of those things at exactly the same time. I live in a Victorian house that's over 120 years old, and we decided we wanted to retrofit in an environmentally friendly way to make it more energy efficient. I got so excited that we could make our home a legacy for the future, until I remembered just how horrible it was going to be and how much I was going to hate doing it. I think home improvement's like having a baby. It's absolutely horrible at the time, but as soon as you hold that beautiful babe in your arms, or you look at that wonderfully elegant home around you, you forget until the next time. And that was me. But two things kept me going. First of all, that the climate stakes are now supremely high, and energy-efficient homes will make a big dent in our emissions. So every single retrofit is vitally important. And the other thing is that builders aren't going to get into retrofit on their own. Unless we require it of them, they're just going to carry on doing what they've always done. According to the UN, leaky homes accounts for 1/5 of greenhouse gases globally. In the UK, that means 21% of our emissions. And every home built before 1990 needing a retrofit, which means your homes could very easily be part of the problem, when you could be part of the solution. So take our home. Before we started the work, we were using 25,500 kilowatt hours a year. 25,500. Now we've finished the work, we're using, wait for it, 5,800 kilowatt hours a year. That's a 75% reduction in energy usage. Now tell me that you wouldn't want that outcome, would you? Yes. Thank you. I have been an Ecoworrier since the early 70s. For anyone with their eyes open, it was already crystal clear that we were out of kilter with our environment, but most people just wouldn't look. I'm afraid I couldn't do that. I've always known in my bones that the planet and life itself are interconnected, and it's only when the system is healthy that the individual can be healthy. So I joined Friends of the Earth and Greenpeace. I marched to save the whale and the rainforests. I started the long job of greening my life. I did deep ecology workshops to understand my visceral connection to the earth. And I talked to anybody who would listen in the hope that they would take this seriously. Because I understand just how difficult it is to look this climate destruction in the eye. It's so distressing, and yet we've got to do it. We're no longer talking years down the line. We're talking now. And we can no longer roll it back, but we're still in with a chance of making it less awful. I manage my fear of all of this by going from the worrier to the warrior. I'm always looking for what's the next thing I can do that might make a difference, however small, it doesn't matter. And I know I can't change the world on my own, much as I'd like to, but it's better than sitting back waiting for government and big business to do something. Right now, we have all got to do everything within our power. As Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. And for all of us right now, that means accepting our homes are part of the problem. But the beauty of it is, you've got nothing to lose. This is the one piece of climate action that has no sacrifice in it. You can only win. So, what is this retrofit? It's not rocket science. You don't even have to own your own home. If you're a tenant, you can start a shallow retrofit today. If you're a homeowner, you can go for a deep retrofit. Whatever you decide, it's the same process. It's a bit like going out for a walk in the winter. Bear with, we get there. You start by putting on your woolly jumper. That's your insulation. Then you put on your windproof jacket to keep out the cold drafts. That's cutting the drafts out of the house and making it as airtight as you possibly can. While you're walking, you might get a bit hot and sweaty, so you pull your zip down to let in some fresh air. That's your ventilation. And as you walk, you start to build up heat. That's your sustainable heating, probably your air source heat pump. And if you're blessed by the weather, the sun comes down and warms you. That's your solar power. It's not difficult. I've even written a simple guidebook to help you. But while it isn't difficult, it's also not the norm. And that brings us back to the building profession. When the builders come in, it's very easy to get into a top-down relationship. After all, they are the experts, and they will say, this is what we've got to do, these are the materials we've got to use, and this is how much it's going to cost you. Recognize it? Yeah. Most of us at that point will say, yeah, on you go, do it, go ahead, because we want it to stop. It's back to childbirth. We want the difficult bits to be over with the least possible pain. But I'm afraid to tell you, just as with childbirth, they can't do it without us. We have to show up. We have to take responsibility and become part of the process. And that's where we have to build in and come and take our place within that whole thing. We do that by understanding retrofit, by making clear that we've got a builder we've got a really good connection with so that we can challenge their thinking, that we take our place as part of the team, and above all, that we make clear that sustainability and retrofit is driving our buying decisions. I've got a really good example of this, a good role model in my life. My husband, John, will never accept the first answer to a question. Never. He always wants to know that he's got the best possible solution. So when we're looking for builders, then we have to find somebody that will value that and work with it. We are fortunate that we found Pete. They've worked together before, they have got a really good connection, and they make a good team. But for this latest work, I decided I'm going to join in here. I can do more than make the tea. And I realised that retrofit was one thing that was out of everyone's comfort zone. So I decided to learn about it. Slightly daunting at first, but fortunately for me, as soon as I got into it, I was absolutely hooked. Through a long COVID winter, I was freezing cold. I was wearing my least dirty clothes, and we were living in one cramped and extremely dusty room. But I didn't care, because my mind was working. I was grappling with dense and convoluted information. I was talking to experts I hadn't even known existed, and I was chatting acros and cold bridges with the best of them. The day we ran out of insulation was a turning point for me. We had decided to insulate under the suspended floor ourselves. Underfloor heating was due to start the next day at 8 o'clock. And at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we realised that the materials we needed were miles away and not due for 2 days. Once I'd calmed down, I suggested to John, you start with what we've got and I'll go and get it. So I got in my trusty EV on a very cold and stormy January afternoon, and I arrived 10 minutes before closing time. The lady behind the counter, I shall never forget, she said to me, "Don't worry, darling, we're going to sort you out. First of all, tell me, where have you parked your lorry?" She thought I could drive a lorry. Yes. My transformation was complete. To my daughter, I was now a building bore, but I knew that I was a retrofit warrior fighting hammer and nails for our climate and all of our grandchildren. So in retrospect, John, Pete and I were a dream team. We worked really well together. And we need more dream teams. We need customers who are as focused on sustainable insulation as they are on the work surface they want in the kitchen. And we need builders who want to deliver an energy efficient and environmentally friendly outcome. And if we work together, we can do this. If we work as thoughtful and committed consumers, making clear to builders that we care about the planet, that we want the best outcomes for everyone, including our house, and that we will use our buying power to influence how they work, they'll soon come on board. And you have every reason to do it. You'll end up with an energy-efficient home that you understand because you've been part of creating it. You will be saving a shed load of money. Remember our 75%. You will have cut your emissions significantly, and you've done something wonderful for the grandchildren. So now, I'm handing it over to you. Please join me. Take off your worry blindfold and become a warrior. Talk to anyone who will listen about retrofit. Talk to landlords, builders, architects, your family, friends, colleagues, anybody that you know who's working on their home. And above all, when your time comes, show up, join the team, and make your home a part of the solution. Thank you.